guess you want to pay me, write the check. It don't matter.
Ben, hey man, it's good to see you.
I'm glad I finally made it.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this. Thank you for taking the time. You know, I know you're a busy man with the business and everything.
Not nearly as busy as a lot of guys out here, but
yeah, true, but still busy enough, I'm sure. But anyway, thanks for taking the time to come over and hang out with me and talk business and generators and whatever the hell else we decide to talk about. I'm totally open with. But let's just start by getting a little background on you. I mean, I know you went to college to be an automotive technician.
Yes. Right out of high school, went to MCC for a couple of years and never got my associate's degree because I didn't go to speech class. So
I didn't go to speech class either.
And now look at you now, right?
I didn't like the teacher in that class. I think I made it 2 whole classes, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. Screw this.
Right,
I don't like it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did that and worked at a couple of dealerships in the area for almost 6 years, and then found a job on...
Were they the same, like GM or Chrysler?
It was all Chrysler. Yeah,
all Chrysler?
I worked at Viking Dodge.
Chris Lake?
Yeah, for about 9 months. And
right there on 176
Yep,
here?
and then things got a little shady over there. So then I went to Benoit, and I was over there for a couple of years, and I went to Bryden's in Beloit for probably 3 years, and then just saw an ad in the paper one day and called for a job, and the guy said, I just hired somebody, but I'll keep your name down here, and if something happens, I'll call you back. And 6 months later, I'm at work, and back then you had like a regular phone on your toolbox or whatever, or on the wall by your bay. And guy says, "Is this Ben?" I'm like, "Yep." He says, "This is Don Ritter. He's still looking for a job." I'm like, "Who in the hell is this?" So he told me who it was. I'm like, "Let's go in for an interview." And I think I went in for an interview at 5 a.m. or something before I went to work, and
it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. So 20 some years later, I'm still trying to make electricity.
And so you went with Lionheart.
Yep.
And how long were you with them?
Almost 20 years.
And for those that don't know who or what Lionheart Company is,
they are a generator maintenance and repair company. Yeah, they're based out of Huntley. They're originally out of Woodstock, and they moved to Huntley, so now they're in Huntley, but they do a lot of work in and around Chicago, some stuff in Wisconsin, as far north as, I would say, Wausau.
Oh, that's kind of a drive.
Yeah, pretty far. So,
yeah, that's not a short drive.
No, yeah, there's a lot of work out there. You just
I believe it. Yeah, probably by the time you get up to Madison, Milwaukee, I'm sure there's quite a few generators and things on top of buildings and stuff that need to be maintained and looked at.
A lot of healthcare stuff.
Oh, I can believe that.
Data centers are pretty big now.
I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah, a lot of, say, bigger companies had their own data storage for years, and then now everything's more cloud-based. So they put in like this data center where all the information's stored, and they have 30 or 40 generators backing up all the servers.
Yeah, backing everything up there. And that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So when you were working for them, you were traveling all the time then?
Yeah. At the beginning, we were on the road quite a bit, and then the more guys we got, the less it was, and now a lot of work in Chicago. But
you're still traveling to Chicago, and you're going on top of these buildings, and you're taking care of these generators and things like that.
Sure.
Correct?
Yeah. You get to see the city, but from a dumpster next to in an alley, you don't really get to see. There's some pretty cool stuff down there. You go on a roof and you can see the skyline, and it's pretty neat. But
so when you took that job, did you know much about generators at that point?
I thought I was going to go work on those little like a Briggs and Stratton, pull the cord, and that's all the generator.
The 4,000 watt generators, and
Yeah.
You're not working on these big old diesel ones that
Yeah.
are putting out, I can't even tell you how much, you know more than I do.
Like 3,000 horsepower, 4,000 horsepower. Some of the big stuff is more than that now, really.
So you got the crash course on it when you started there, basically. Then.
Yep. It was like, here's a truck and some tools, and call me if you got any questions.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that.
It wasn't quite that bad, but that's
No.
what it felt like. It was good.
Do you guys have like, I know like with car mechanics, they have like all data, right? So you can go in there and it breaks things down per make, per model, per vehicle, whether you're doing a tie rod or a rear end or whatever. It kind of breaks things down, what parts you might need and how to tear it apart and what the specs are. Is there something like that for the generator world?
Similar, but it's there's nothing really aftermarket that covers the individual units. Everything's manufacturer provided. So if you're an independent, it makes it more difficult to get that information because you're gathering information from Caterpillar, Kohler, Cummins, whoever makes the generator or the engine.
Well, I was just going to get into that. I'm glad you brought that up because there are different engine manufacturers that go on different generators.
Correct.
Manufacturers. So there's two separate companies, but they get put together and there's an endless combination of this, right? Like you said, from Caterpillar to Cummins to Detroit's diesels. Yep. What are some of the generator built companies like Kohler?
Well, Caterpillar, Kohler.
So Caterpillar still makes the generator side too?
Yes.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah. They are one of the few, and Kohler's doing it. Well, Cummins, I shouldn't say it like that. They're all similar, but Cat really is, I think, the only one that has their own engine and generator that are proprietary to Cat.
Gotcha.
Kohler does have some engines now, and maybe they do make their own generator, and but as far as I know, like the rest of them just use Stanford or a Marathon generator, and they pair it to an engine from John Deere, Volvo, PSI if it's a gas engine, and then
make it work that way.
Make a unit, right? They put different controls on it, and it's but Cat for the longest time has had all their own engine generator stuff, which is good, but it's more expensive obviously because
I'm sure
everything that's yellow.
But I'm sure when you went to go work on it, it was one of those like, oh yes, I got a Caterpillar engine and a Caterpillar generator. Compared to when you get to one and you go, oh man, I got a Volvo and a Stanford.
Right.
What are the specs on this thing?
Well, it does make it easier. Cat does support. They have really good support on all that stuff as far as even replacement parts. But they've been doing it. I don't
a long
know
time.
how long they've been in business, but
Long time.
probably longer than
Most.
I shouldn't say that. John Deere's been in business for a long time too. But
Yeah, since
I don't
like
know how good they're.
18. I should know this.
You should of all people, right?
know this. Yeah, what 1880? No, I was thinking 1886, but I don't think that's right. 1823 maybe is when he made the first plow. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. That sounds good.
Shortly after
Fact
they
check
made
me if I'm
steel,
wrong
right?
because I'm probably wrong.
Somebody's doing that right now.
Yeah. So you left. So you obviously you liked working there because you were there for a long time.
Yeah, it was good. The only reason I left is just because I wanted to try this. And
So let's get into that a little bit. So you decided. What did you decide? Like one day you just woke up and was like, you know what?
I had been thinking about it for a long time. It was I don't know, anything pushed me really to do it. It just, one day I did wake up and I was like, man, I'm not getting any younger. So if I don't do this now, I'm going to, it's never going to happen because I'm going to just and I've already run out of energy compared to when I was younger, but I'm still trying to get it done. I just talked to my boss. I'm like, here's what I'm going to try. And he's like, yeah, good luck, So,
So did you, when you started thinking about, like, really thinking about doing this, did you have a place like you're like, hey, this is where I'm going to do everything, you know, for your own company, which is Industrial Engine Company?
Yeah.
Did you decide like, hey, I got a little 20 by 20 garage out back, I'm going to start in that and work my way up? Or what was your thought process?
Yeah, I had a little garage by the house. It's like a 32 by 44. And then in 2020, I started putting up a shop at the house, and all the COVID stuff, so everything went pretty slow. But I don't know if it's still not all the way done, but I don't know. It's usable.
It's usable.
So we're working on that.
So you ended up building a new shop then?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, well, here we go. Can't turn back now, or else it's just
it's an expensive house payment on top of the house payment. What building did you go with?
I bought the building from that Z-Best in Amboy. And I was trying to get someone, everybody was busier than hell at the time. And I got some guys called Northland Builders that he knew up, I think they were from Platteville.
Okay.
So they came down and put it up.
A couple hours north here, northwest.
Yeah. So it was, and I think the main reason I did that was I put steel on the pig barn at the house from them. So I wanted to match. So I asked him about the tin, and then he's like, well, I can get you a whole building package. I'm like, okay. Well,
so that included the trusses and everything?
Yeah,
then?
they put together the whole, the package and shipped it up, and then he had worked with these guys, and they came down and put it up.
So did you put, like, is it all insulated? Concrete?
Yeah.
Heat in the floor? The whole works?
Yeah. That was a whole nother experience. I thought that we would try spray foaming, so we bought a trailer to do that with, and it's not as easy as it looks on YouTube, that's for sure, because if anybody can screw it up, I can. I watched a lot of videos, but when you pull the trigger on that gun, it doesn't do what they make it look like.
So did you end up keeping it spray foam then?
Oh, yeah, we did the whole building, but it was quite the process, so I would not recommend doing that in the wintertime to anyone. Just heat everything up for 4 hours to, be able to spray for 2, and then
it doesn't sound fun.
It was not fun. It was terrible.
But it's done.
It's done.
It's done.
It's done. It's warm.
So you decided, okay, you bought this building, you got it put up, got the concrete in, got the heat in the floor. What was your next process at that point?
I don't know.
Well, because you had a lot of tools. You had a lot of tools from your previous job working on all this stuff. So maybe you needed a few, specialty tools or something that you didn't have on hand or whatever at that point in time. But you get it up and you get this nice building, and you're hitting and you go, oh man, it's empty. So now what do I do?
I wanted it empty till it was done, but then the weather gets bad and you have no choice. So we're like, guess we got to work in here until we get.
Take the time.
We got to make money. So
exactly.
It was basically just trying to figure out how to get customers. I picked up a few things. I looked at a lot of constant online searching for. I didn't want to go after any of the customers I previously worked with.
Correct.
Just because I wanted to leave my job on good terms. You never know, you might have to go back. So I kind of just picked up Menards for a few years. I did some work on all their generators, anywhere from Wausau all the way down to last year. I think we were in the far side of Kansas doing generators for them, just to have work to do.
Oh, so you actually went out on the site then and did those?
Oh yeah. They had there's backup generators at all their stores.
Okay.
I shouldn't say all of them, but quite a few. So we got with them. I've been we do stuff for Village of Capron, Harvard. Been doing some things for Poplar Grove, Woodstock. I prefer to stay local if possible, but
Sometimes you got to go where the money's at.
Yeah,
though.
right. If you got run out of stuff to do, you just go. That's why the tools are in the truck. You drive to wherever you have to go to fix it. So.
And these generators, some of these generators, I know you said, before we sat down in here, they're 20 cylinders? Some of these?
Some of them, yeah. The stuff we see now is that we do personally. I mean, there's a lot of work out there. There's stuff bigger than that, but I mean, we do a little bit of work for Waste Management, and they have some 20-cylinder engines that power. They're Caterpillar engines, and they run on methane from the landfills.
Makes sense.
So
Makes
what they
total
do
sense.
is they take the methane out of the landfill and they compress it and filter it, and then they'll pump it in the engine and burn it, as opposed to flaring it off. So they're able to make power with it, and generate power, push it back in the grid, and they in turn get paid for how much energy they produce, so
or that they're not using, right?
Right. Well,
the other way.
Most of the plants are set up that they generate more power than they would use.
That kind of surprises me a little bit.
Well,
actually,
by the landfill's pretty much closed. I shouldn't say closed, but a lot of times when they start, I shouldn't say when they start, but throughout the process, at some point the landfill's done accepting garbage, right?
Yeah.
So then all they're doing is collecting the gas out of it. So there's not a lot of activity and probably not a lot of energy usage.
Yeah. Okay. So when you mention it that way, that makes sense, right? Because they're probably using more than what they can handle, or about what they can handle, while the landfill is taking garbage. But once that landfill shuts off, then they quit taking that, is what you're saying.
Right.
But they don't take that big friggin' engine and move it to the next landfill or anything like that?
Oh, no, it'll run for quite a few years. I mean, a long time after, because the garbage is always decomposing and creating gas.
Mm-hmm.
So they collect the gas, and sometimes they'll have, whether it's a reciprocating engine or a turbine, they might have 2 or 3 set up there when they're producing more gas, and then say it tapers off and they knock it down to 2, and then the gas production tapers off and they'll knock it down to 1, and eventually it just ends up being a flare because there's not enough gas there to run, to make power with.
Yeah. So you brought up the 2 different types of engines there.
Yeah.
Can you explain what those are?
Reciprocating is just a basic engine, a crankshaft and some pistons,
Mm-hmm.
And a turbine is like a gas, a turbine generator. So it's like a jet engine, basically, that is fired off of methane or natural gas.
Do you have to be, let's see, how do I want to, do you have to have like certifications or something to work on all these?
Probably should, but
not that you're aware of, is what you're saying.
we don't really work on the turbines.
Okay.
We do some.
Well, that was that, when I know a turbine from jet engines and things like that, and I'm just thinking, they got to have those when they're flying. I wonder if they have to have the same type when they're down here.
It's a similar concept.
That's exactly my point.
So we do, on the turbine planes, we just do like some support work for, say, Waste Management. Like was it yesterday? Hell, I don't even know. But we went and changed some bearings on the fans for the cooling. I guess it's like a radiator that's running oil through it for the compressors.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. We don't really work on the actual turbine, but if they needed, they need something we can handle, then we'll go help them.
Yeah, then you'll go take care of that. Now, do you work on just generators? Do you work on engines outside of generators? Do you work on small generators, big generators, small engines, big engines?
So it's hard to say no to anything because you never know when you run out of stuff to do. I've never been in a position like this where I'm relying on myself to produce my own income and for others. So it's hard to tell people, no, we're not going to do that. I mean, some stuff I'm like, I don't think we want to. But as far as the generators go, we work on anything from, and not a lot, but, we'll do a little portable one with a 2-cylinder, 1-cylinder Honda or something if somebody needs something. And we do quite a few home home generators, we'll install them and, put the transfer switch in and get all that working. And then it goes all the way up to, say, 16-cylinder, 20-cylinder cat that, so you got to...
Wide variety.
It's all the same concept, it's just a bigger scale, bigger parts and heavier parts. It's the bigger stuff's actually easier to work on because...
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can go change 100 gallons oil as fast as you can change 5 on some of them. It's just, you have a pump and it pumps 10 gallons a minute and you pump the oil out, you
pump the
change
fresh
filters
oil in,
and pump it back in, and you're on your way. And if you get one that's on a roof that holds 5 gallons of oil, you're really going to fight it all day. So
when you're going to like these Menards, like you said that you had, when are you doing are you just servicing them, or are you just checking everything over to make sure everything's good to go? Or unless they say, hey, we've had a problem with this piece of shit over here, figure it out for us. But otherwise, is it like, hey, every March and every October you're going to go do maintenance on these things, or is it once a year? Or?
Usually it's once a year. I mean, and to tell you the truth, it probably doesn't have to be done every year, but you run into more of a problem with like condensation and stuff in the oil, especially ones that are outside that don't, they start up and run for, say, a half hour every week, and sometimes don't get hot enough, especially if there's no outages and they don't have to run for extended time during the year. Then you get moisture buildup, and most common we service it once a year. There are places we go twice a year, quarterly for inspections.
Yeah.
And just to, we go through a checklist to make sure everything's...
And then that specific checklist you have, it tells, hey, make sure this is up to code. Check. Make sure this is up to date. Make sure there's no leaks here.
Right. You go through every portion of the generator, the engine, the transfer switch, any of that stuff. We just check everything over. If there's any deficiencies, obviously you address it with them or send them, I guess a quote to
figure it out
or fix it. If it's something urgent, then you take care of it right away. But
100%.
It's like everything else. Probably same with the tractor. It comes in, you go over it, and you find something. If you look at enough of them, you know what's going to happen before it happens. Hopefully, that's the idea, and you can catch the problems before the equipment's needed. Generators are funny because a lot of times people forget about them until they need them, and then all of a sudden if it doesn't work, well, we're in the dark, right? So it's
you're 100% correct.
You wouldn't think that, but if
it's like a chainsaw, right? A chainsaw is the same thing.
Yeah.
You put the chainsaw on the shelf, all of a sudden windstorm comes through and you're like, oh, I got to cut that up. And you go, oh man, I don't know how old this gas is, but it can't be that good. Right. Now I got to mix up new oil for this thing.
Right. Last time I used it, I remember it needed a chain, and I never got it in a bar. But well, I guess we need it now.
100%.
Or else you're out there just burning through the thing and
smoking like crazy. Yeah. One more cut.
I'm gonna make my way through this one way or another. But, yeah.
But you're right. A generator is the exact same way. You kind of forget about it until you need it, and then all of a sudden it's like, crap. Now what?
It is. And most of the bigger stuff people are pretty good about maintaining. A lot of places they have guys that, on the industrial side or commercial side that check it weekly. You make sure it runs, stuff like that. The home units are a little more, they get forgotten about more often. I try to tell people that they run every week, say for 10 or 20
I was just going to say, I think they run like every week, and you can set it for the time and date that you want, and they start up for 10 or 15 minutes just to make sure things are running smooth in the way they should. So you guys will take care of all that then.
Yeah.
So if I called you up and said, hey, I'm thinking about putting a generator in my house, the one you're sitting in right now, you can come out, take a look at everything. Yeah. Do you sell the generators, or do I need to go find somebody?
No, we sell it. We sell Briggs & Stratton home units. I looked at a couple different brands.
Why Briggs?
I'm not sure. I know a guy that has a Generac dealership on the south side of Chicago. It's a Crete. I don't know if you know where Balmoral Park is, but anyway, down by the old horse track.
Anyway,
okay, yeah. He was a Generac dealer, and I just called him when I started this and had a few people asking about home units and was trying to do the research. I said, what do you think about this? And he said, well, I would go with Briggs. He said, the Generacs, I think it was more of a pain to get set up with and stuff like that. And he said, talk to them, and it worked out. I mean, we've had real good luck with them. So
if you've had good luck, you can't.
People ask, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I've had minimal problems, and I don't know how many put in, probably 60 or 70. And
well, that's quite a few.
Yeah, there's guys that do 300 a year, but we're not quite that scale yet,
Yet was the key word, though. Was the key word.
You have to get there. It takes time.
You can't just go from 0 to 100. You got to get to all those numbers before that. Where do you see your business at now? Do you see it more on the smaller side of stuff, or do you see a lot more like on the bigger side of stuff?
I think we're in between. I think we're probably.
So you're not necessarily the smallest. You're not necessarily the biggest. You're kind of just.
Yeah, as far as the company size, we're not.
No, I mean not company size. I mean like the generators and the engines and stuff that you're working on.
We're fairly. I'd say we're in the middle. I mean, we probably half our work is probably commercial, and maybe it's probably more commercial than residential.
No kidding.
Right now, yeah.
That kind of shocks me a little bit.
Yeah,
I figured it would be the opposite. I figured it'd be like 65-35.
It's probably 75-25.
No kidding.
Yeah, or maybe a little more. The residential stuff, there's it depends what we're talking about, like time or income, because the
understood.
The commercial stuff,
it's easier to replace a $500 generator than a $50,000 generator.
That is correct. If you do one job for $100,000, you could do 10 for $10,000. So it's just it doesn't take long to add up on the commercial side.
100% agree.
And we've been doing some other stuff too, and not always by choice, but there's a lot of people out here have stuff that needs fixed, and I'm not afraid to work on an engine and anything really. I try not to get too much into truck brakes and stuff like that. Not really what I want to do, but we do enjoy.
There's plenty of automotive mechanics around.
Yeah, we do enjoy like some of the bigger like semis and some of that stuff. That engine work's not terrible, but.
So you'll do engine work in like semi trucks.
We've been doing some. I try not to advertise that because I don't really personally like doing it. But
you need me to cut that out, Ben? Or?
No. It's all good. You know what? There's so many people out here, especially in our area, that would help you if you needed something, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty hard when somebody asks you, can you help with this? Or would you? Because if you went back to them and said,
I need you,
they'd be right there. So how do you do that? It's.
And it all comes down to time too, right? It could come to a point where all of a sudden you got 3 weeks of this commercial stuff that you got to go maintenance and take care of. So you'd be like, hey, I can get to it, but it ain't going to be for a few weeks yet. And then maybe that person goes, well, I can't wait that long. On to plan B. Like, I'll take care of it. I'm just not going to take care of it at this exact point.
Exactly. And I'm there quite a bit. We will get busy and I'll be like, I can look at it, but I just drop it off and we'll check it out. I don't know that I can.
So is it just you?
It's me and my son, Lane. He started about 1.5 years ago working for me. And then I just had another guy start working for me a couple months ago.
Good for you.
So he kind of works in the shop. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you must know a little bit what you're doing because at some point over the last 1.5 years, you decided I can't, if I continue down this continue down this path, I'm not going to be able to make more income because I'm already stretched out working these many hours and doing these many things. So you needed to bring somebody on board to help with some of that stuff, correct?
Sure.
So you kind of know what you're doing. It might be this much.
If we're lucky, it's that much. I don't know. I'm learning a lot about business and how to try to run a business. I don't know how to run it yet, but we're trying.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get into that. Okay? This podcast episode is sponsored by Dan's Diesel Performance. If you're looking to improve your truck's performance, efficiency, or appearance, check out Dan's Diesel Performance. They manufacture turbochargers, fuel injectors, fuel pumps, transmissions, intake piping, and much, much more. Plus, they offer all the top brands in the diesel industry. They're located in Machesney Park, Illinois. Visit their website at dansdieselperformance.com or give them a call at 815-977-5865. So we left off that you're learning how to run a business.
Trying.
So this is going to be, I'm going to pick your brain here quite a bit because there may be some folks out there who are learning how to do it themselves or in the process of maybe trying to start their own business. What are some of the things that you got your shop built, you started going out on these calls, you started working for yourself? What are some things that you thought to yourself, oh man, I could be in over my head on the management side of things?
A lot of paperwork. You don't have to enjoy it, but you have to be able to sit down and keep up with your, I guess, the administrative end of things as far as billing, parts billing, ordering, paying bills. A lot of it's basic stuff, but when you keep multiplying what you're doing, then if you're trying to work and then do all that, you got to make time for that, because if you don't, then you get yourself behind and it's hard to get out of the hole,
Yeah, so you're talking about like if you go to all these Menard stores, like you were saying.
Right.
I'm assuming that all goes to like one corporate place.
Correct.
The bills do.
Correct.
So when you get done servicing this one, you get 10 of them done in a week. That all just goes to one address probably, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that one's pretty easy. Yes. But if you have 30 different ones that you did that week that aren't Menards and they're different addresses and they're not a corporation, that's 30 bills you got to send out that week.
Yes. And you have to stay on top of it. I'm getting much better at that. But when I first started, I just working, and all of a sudden you have.
Man, I did that one 3 weeks ago. Where's the check for that?
When customers are calling you asking you to send them the bill because you didn't, then you realize that you are behind.
So do you have a computer program that helps you out with all that?
I do. I use QuickBooks for. And I'm just starting to learn it. I've had it for a while, but I haven't done much with it. I use QuickBooks for, and now I use it for payroll and just general accounting, profit and loss stuff. And I do have someone that helps me with that a little bit. As far as like the operational stuff, I use something called Full Bay. It's more design.
Say that again.
Full Bay. It's called
Full Bay.
Yeah, it's like a shop management software.
Okay.
And it tracks all the equipment information as far as you can customize it, I guess however you want to, if it's a piece of equipment or a generator or whatever.
For inventory purposes?
Well, for information on the actual equipment.
Okay.
Like, model, make, serial number. You can pull up, say, engine, and you can go in the engine and see what it takes for filters, batteries.
So this is more of like an all data type thing, like I said earlier
Something
about
like
cars,
that. Yep.
But this is more on the engine side of things?
Yeah, it's more like for storage and for our information, but
okay.
it does do parts, inventory tracking, pricing, and stores all customer information.
Is it a nice system to use then?
It's nice. Yeah, it works pretty well. It's more set up for a shop, I would say, than a field guy, but you can. I made it work. There's a lot of them out there I looked at, and this one seemed to work the best for what I'm doing. I mean, economically speaking, there's some you can get out there that you're going to pay, $1,000 a month for.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was just going to get at too. Is I know there's some other programs out there that you can use for, your accounting purposes or your inventory purposes, but all those prices, it seems like it doesn't even have to be a nicer program, but the prices just vary, from $130 a month to, like you said, $1,000 a month, depending on what you want in there. You just got to find the system that works for you. That you're gonna want to learn and you can keep up with it on.
Yeah, it's working so far. I mean, it's. I'm sure there's something better, but there's always something better. But then trying to transfer all that information into another system would be a task in itself. So
what else did you learn from the business owner / management side that maybe threw you for a loop? Like
insurance.
For instance, okay, perfect. I was just gonna say, like for instance, insurance.
There's a lot to insurance, and you got to keep. I mean, I didn't know that certificates of insurance and workman's comp and liability, and there's a lot. It's probably once you do it, it's not that bad. But learning about that and how it works, who needs it, who needs to know it, what you need, the coverage. It takes a while to learn all that. I mean, it's stuff I never dealt with. Insurance is basic, at your house or vehicle or whatever.
Yeah, everybody knows about the insurance on your vehicle and your house and everything else, but it's the insurance outside of that.
Sure.
There's your building insurance, your workman's comp insurance, your parts insurance, tools insurance. Do you have tools on?
Everything.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. Just making sure. Yeah. I mean, you're a smart guy.
Make sure everything's good. I've been through that before, so we don't want to do that again. But yeah, it's been challenging, but challenging is good because it keeps you on your toes. You learn. That's been I probably learned more about that than anything.
Well, you have to. Right. You have to learn about it, right? That's the difference part of it. What about something that a lot of people don't know when you own your own business and you have an employee or employees is just seen the bunny run by the window. Took my train of thought out.
The bunny.
Unemployment. You got to pay into that.
Yep. There's
as an employer.
There's unemployment tax. There's what do they call that? Social Security. Whatever you. Thank God for QuickBooks on that because somebody set it up and I just got to put the amount of hours they work. And
the price they make and then
that's it.
Done.
Right, here's the hours and it'll do. Now I got just this week we started direct deposit, so now I can.
Yes.
I don't have to do checks. I don't do any of that more. It's like thank God because I don't know how this. I mean, the first 32 checks I tried to print out of my printer. They were upside down, backwards, but the lines were off. And now we're getting there nailed down. So,
and that's the other thing. It's like you gotta have the computer program. You have to have the nice printer that's going to be able to do all this stuff. The right paperwork, the right paper to put inside that printer. It's just all the little things that when you own your own business or when you start owning your own business that the majority of people don't think about.
There is. It's a lot, but it's good. It's if you didn't try, then you never know if you could do it. I still may not make it, but we're doing good so far.
I think you're doing all right.
You never know what's going to happen, but I mean,
you've been in your own business for about 3 years, you said.
Yeah. And
you're up to 3 employees with yourself.
Yeah. I just need another 3, and we'll be caught up.
You get my point, though.
Yeah, no, I get it.
There's a lot of people that start a business and never get to that point.
Yeah.
So
I think we're doing all right.
You're in a niche market, though, too, though. You're in a market that there's not a lot of people that understand that stuff. I'm one of them. I don't know. Fire the generator up and plug an extension cord in, and it runs everything. Right. Beyond that, I don't know how the engine runs the generator and how it produces power to be able to do that stuff. It's just over my head.
There's not a lot to it. It's like it works like an electric motor, just does the other way around, instead of. I don't even know how to
spit it out. What about, did you have to buy any, I know I brought it up earlier, but we didn't really elaborate on it. We just kind of moved past it. Did you have to buy any specialty tools when you moved out on your own?
Yeah.
Or equipment for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, there's like load banks, which is basically a big resistor. So it's like hooking a toaster up to a generator and turning electricity into heat. So that load bank testing is required for most generators annually on the bigger ones. And I did get into what you call fuel polishing a little bit. So we can
explain that. Talk about that a little bit.
It sounds funny, but that's what they call it, polishing fuel. But basically, we have a machine that can take fuel out of a tank, diesel fuel out of a tank, and clean the fuel. It just cycles through filters.
Okay.
So we can put additive in, depending what's wrong with the fuel. If it's got bacterial growth, water, debris, we can go in there and take the fuel out, clean it, and return it to the tank, and put additive in, bring it back up to, they call it stability, but it basically storage capacity of the fuel. So if it starts breaking down, biodiesel is...
You brought up algae and it just clicked in my brain. I was like, okay, now I got to ask this question. Is there a lot of these generators that run on biodiesel?
None. Well, I shouldn't say none. Very few.
Because biodiesel is usually cheaper. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
And being that it's going to go in a generator that you might not need all the time.
It is terrible for a generator tank.
It's terrible for a lot of tanks.
It's terrible for a lot of tanks. Especially, so a generator, the fuel sit there more than it gets used. So it actually, the bio portion of it will break down and settle, and you get sludge in the tanks. It's very, very bad for...
Yummy.
It's bad. It's bad.
Well, that can screw up injectors, and that can screw up all the fuel pumps and injection pumps. It can screw up all that when that sludge sits to the bottom.
Yeah, you should not put biodiesel in a standby generator.
If you're going to run that piece of equipment often, I don't mind biodiesel. Right. If you're going to run it, I'm daily or every other day, hell, even every third day, I'll even give that to you. But if it's going to put it in a generator where you might have I don't even know on some of these generators. Well, they got a 50-gallon tank up there, 30-gallon tank, or they run off a.
Some of the underground tanks are like 30,000 gallons. They're pretty big.
Oh, well, see, I wasn't even friggin' close.
They would never put bio in something like that.
No.
But I mean, a tow behind, you're probably going to have a 100-gallon tank in it if it's a smaller one, and those will get screwed up with bio too if it's not cycling through.
But they do make a product out there that will get rid of the algae in the biodiesel.
Yes, they make a biocide that'll kill the algae and almost anything. You just have to run the fuel through no matter what.
Yeah, you pretty much got to start it. Once you dump that in, you start that engine and you run that fuel down to basically nothing, or suck it out, put new fuel in,
cycle it through. Yeah, if you're using it, it's not
as bad.
It's not as bad, right? But I don't know if anybody's a fan of it. I mean, the farmers love it because.
And believe me, farmers will tell you that they don't love it for specific reasons I won't get into. I remember when they first started coming out with biodiesel, man, we went through fuel filters on all sorts of equipment all the time. It would just plug them up.
Right.
You'd be good. It'd be good 1 minute, and then an hour later, you got algae in the fuel filter. Change fuel filters out, dump this in the tank, run it, you'll be fine. Man, we went through so many fuel filters back then.
It's gotten better. It's gotten better now. I mean, the cold is still... You're still going to have issues when it's super cold out with bio, but you can have that with any fuel.
But, with all the diesel additives they have nowadays, it definitely helps.
Oh, sure.
What's that? Power Guard?
Power Service.
Power Service. Yeah. There you go. That's some good stuff, I think. You going to tell me wrong? Judging by your face.
It's okay.
You got a better product?
There's a lot of better products. It's on the lower end. I mean, we've done a few tests of our own. When I was at Lionheart, we took diesel fuel in during one of them extreme cold spells a few years back, and we took cups of fuel and dumped different additives in there, and into cold fuel, and
seeing if it would liquefy.
Some of the stuff you have to add before the fuel starts to gel.
That's correct.
So, the only one that we had at the time that started mixing was called CRC Cold Flow. But anything's better than putting nothing in there. Obviously, I just.
Well, the goal is for the diesel not to gel.
Right.
So you put the additive in
before it gets cold. Then it won't gel, theoretically. Power service, there's a lot of it out there. We use a lot of different stuff, but the main brand we use, what did I do?
I don't know what you did. I'm over here, man.
I just forgot what I was talking about.
The specific one that you use other than Power Guard.
It's in my head, and I can't spit it out. Does this ever happen to anybody?
Oh, it's happened all the time. Don't even feel bad about it.
God. I got probably a 55-gallon drum of this stuff in the shop, and I can't think of the name of it.
You can see, let me guess, you can see the whole placard, but the name of it's just blurred out right now, right?
2 seconds, I'll be like, yep, we're in.
I'll change the subject then, and when you come back to it, you'll be just like, this is what it was. Do you do most of your servicing and stuff? I'm assuming during the nice weather. You try not to get out there in the wintertime and when it's crappy out.
Try, yeah. It's better, obviously, everything's better to service in the spring and summer and fall, but there's times when you have to do stuff when it's
well, if something's not working
else,
right, or you got a breakdown, or
there's places that just prefer to do their maintenance in the winter for whatever reason. I don't really know, but that's
accounting wise, probably.
It could be after the first of the year,
or
at
fiscal
the end of the
year end,
whatever. It's just I doesn't make sense, but that's the way I do it. You just work through it, right? Like
you're the guy.
There's guys that work outside all year.
There is. You get the right clothes, it's not bad.
It's not bad. Oil's a lot thicker in the winter.
That's true.
That's one issue you run into, but other than that, you have to work all year round. You try to do inside stuff in the wintertime, obviously.
Well, that's why you have a shop there.
Right.
So that way, when wintertime comes, if you have to go out on top of these buildings or in the alleys or whatever, you're able to do it. But otherwise, hey, let's work here in the shop and let's get some things accomplished and done in here. Is that when you tend to do a lot of engine work and things like that outside of your generator maintenance?
Preferably, yes.
In the wintertime?
Yeah. It's nice to get something lined up, and then either we pull the engine or someone else will do it, and we'll just go through it in the wintertime. And I don't have a machine shop. Maybe someday we'll get that far, but
I was just gonna bring that up. Like, do you have a lathe and all that kind of stuff in there?
Well, I mean, the lathe, yeah, but not. We don't have boring bars and crank grinders and stuff like that at the shop, so we have to send all that out to get done.
Which is still minor. There's a lot of shops in the area that'll do that stuff.
Oh yeah. The bigger stuff, there's only a few. But
yeah, when you get to the big 16 cylinders, yeah, I'm sure there's not a whole lot of those.
There's nobody in the area that does the 16. Those got to go out. But as far as the cranks and block, well, the block.
Yeah, like a straight six or something like that. There's plenty of places around that'll do that. They'll turn them and balance them out, make sure they're ready to go for you.
Right.
And then you guys will just do the rest too, right?
Oh yeah. We'll
bearings and pistons and
everything.
rods.
Yep. We'll tear it down. Send it, obviously you check everything, see what needs to go, what needs to measure all your tolerances and see what you need to do, send it out, get it back and put it back together and hope it runs. There's a video not that long ago I saw a guy had an engine on a stand that, I don't know if you saw that. It must have been on, somebody sent it to me on, I don't know if it's TikTok or what. I don't have TikTok, but people send me videos on it. And if you click on it, it'll play the video. But the guy was running an engine for the first time and shot the rod through the side of the block.
Oh.
The first start up, it's like
not good.
No, somebody forgot to tighten something up on that one. I was hoping
I could see it happening so easy though. I really could.
Don't take much.
No. If you ain't get the right spec on the rod bolts or anything like that, you don't get that piston ring set in there just right. Oh,
something's coming apart.
Yeah, and you don't know until it's too late. And then you're tearing it back apart again. Yeah. I mean, I can see how easily that would be done. YouTube probably isn't good for rebuilding engines.
Don't watch YouTube and try to do this.
I go, I could do that.
Everything looks easy on YouTube. You're like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, I'll just talk to you about spraying foam.
Do not talk to me about spraying foam. We can do it. I'm a lot better than when I started, but I don't.
That's not a side business you want to get into?
Originally, that was the plan, but I don't think we're doing that anymore. It's not bad. It's not a fun job.
I've seen it done, but I've never been involved with it being done. And
it's a tough job. It is definitely harder than it looks on video. Everything's easy if you know what you're doing, right? I mean, you can make anything look easy if you know what the hell you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing, watch out, because something's going to go
well,
haywire.
and that's what's cool about your business, right? Is because you've got the experience. I mean, you went to school to be an automotive mechanic. You worked in an automotive shop. You worked on generators and everything for 16 years or whatever that number was that you said. So when you started your own business, for you already know the stuff. It's just, I'm going to work for myself now. I can set my own hours. I can pick and choose the companies and the businesses that I want to do. It might not be that simple, because at that point in time, you're like, hey, just built this nice shop. I need everything I can get in here to pay the bills. But it's still your choice now. You're not working for the man anymore.
Working for the man, yeah. It all sounds good until you're the man, and then you're like, what did I do? But it's been good. It
sounds like you had a good team, with your son and the other guy that you hired on, and it sounds like they are learning from one of the best, right?
I don't know about that. You like to think you're the best until you feel like you're not, but you can't let it be.
Well, then let's talk about that a little bit.
You all right? You gotta.
No, well, I mean, during the course of any career, you're going to have a screw up every now and then, right? So, do you have one of your favorite screw ups that you done, and you looked at it and go, God, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have freaking done that.
There's got to be a lot of them. But,
I didn't know if there was one that just popped off the top of your head, like, yep, there was this one time. It was this. I should have known it. I didn't do that.
There's plenty of them. I'm just trying to think of what the first. Okay, so first thing you said that we were at a building in, oh God, where were we? Lincolnshire or something, and there's a whole crew of guys there, electricians. This is when I was at Lionheart. Guys from Lionheart, electricians. They're doing like a shutdown in the middle of the night to do maintenance on these switch gears, at a data center for a company. So we had to get generators started, transfer all the power over to the generator. Well, we were changing the controller on one of the generators, so long story short is the start signal comes from downstairs on this generator control, say. We were changing that control that night also. So not thinking, we started the generator from downstairs instead of manually at the controller. So we start this. Everybody's doing their work in the middle of the job. We take the controller out to change it. Well, the generator's got like a 5-minute timer on it for a cool down. 5 minutes after we take the controller out, all of a sudden the lights shut off and we're all down there in the dark. Everybody's like, what the hell happened? I'm like, I know what happened. So got a flashlight and run up the stairs. I got the thing fired back up, but it was kind of embarrassing. All these guys are standing around and looking at who the hell screwed that up. It was me. I'm sure there's probably worse things I've done, but that popped in my head.
Yeah, that's still a simple one where you're like, God, I'm an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
I should have just started it up there because I knew once I pulled this off, we were going to lose power.
It was the middle of the night, so you're not thinking totally clear, but you should know better than that.
Do you go on a lot of emergency calls? Or are you done with that pretty well?
Well, I mean, once in a while, not like we used to. I don't have that. I don't work on that much critical. We do critical equipment, but not
like hospitals.
Not to that scale. No. That we get a lot of calls in the middle of the night. I mean, the goal is to get everything working so you don't have those. But there's always those calls where you get, but we don't get nearly the amount that I did years ago working for somebody else. There was, when you have, 10 guys or 12 guys out in the field every day, there's
And you're working in hospitals and data centers and things like that, where these things need to run. You don't have a choice. They need to run. So when there is a catastrophic failure in those places,
a lot of those places will call even where there's not a catastrophic failure. There just has to be a problem because it has to be.
It has to be powering things.
Right. The hospital never stops. It doesn't shut down. So even if there's a small problem, it could turn into a big one if things don't function properly.
Agreed.
So they want it fixed right now. I mean, technically, if at a surgery center, the generator's not working, they have to shut down operation because they don't have backup power. So even a small thing like that can be a call out for, any kind of issue they're supposed to address immediately or it could shut down their operation.
So a lot of these hospitals and stuff, do they got just one big generator that runs these things, or do they usually have 2 or 3 generators that run certain parts of the buildings, or how does that work?
Different setups. I mean, some hospitals have, say, 3 or 4 generators. They call it paralleled, where they
power.
Yeah, they tie into each other.
Yeah.
And if you had 4 of them running, say you have 4 of them there, you can run on 3 or 2, but you still have a backup. Other places have an individual generator for different parts of the building to carry different loads. There's a couple of different setups.
Yeah, I'm sure there was. I didn't know if it was like, okay, these are for the, this generator's for the ICU, this generator's for surgery, this generator's for patients.
There is that. There is some of that. And like I said,
it's probably the older style, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes more sense to have 4 generators running in parallel and only using 3 to power the whole thing. So if something happens to one, you have another one that can kick in and everybody's still good. You're not going to have any, ventilation machines that are down or somebody's in surgery. None of those things are down per se.
It's a better way to do it.
Agreed.
The data centers all have everything's paralleled, and then they even have like A systems and B systems. So they'll have, say, 8 generators over here that are paralleled, and then 8 over there, and they could switch from these 8 to those 8 to pick up the load if something happened, because that stuff is,
especially in a hospital, like you said, they don't stop. So it's one of those, they need to have, if something happens, they need to have that power now, and they need to have it until the regular power gets kicked back on.
Right. Yeah. No, it's I don't know. I've learned a lot over the years about that. About that stuff.
Yeah. So is your company on, you got a website? TikTok, YouTube?
I don't have TikTok.
Facebook?
The kids will probably do that.
Instagram?
I don't have. I do. There's a Facebook, but I'm real active on it. I'm sure you can find it on there. Got a website at industrialenginecompany.com, but I don't really do much on that either.
Okay.
It's there.
Well, I'm just saying if somebody wanted to reach out and they didn't have your phone number or anything, they can at least go to your website, send you an email.
Phone number's on there.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know how the email thing works off the website, but I probably should look into that, actually. Now that you brought that up, and somebody called me the other day and said, yeah, we emailed you something on the website. I'm like, I never got it.
You probably should look, at least, make it so it goes to your personal email. So when it says forwarded from Industrial Engine Company, okay. Click on that and see what's up. It might be a good thing. So if anybody's got any engine needs, generator needs, don't be afraid to look you up. Give you a call.
Yeah, love to help somebody out if we can.
Perfect. Anything else you want to touch base on?
I don't know. No. I'm glad I made it this far. I was worried about doing this the whole time, but
you were worried about, like, we're going to have nothing to talk about. I'm like, I disagree.
We can keep going, but I don't know what the hell we talk about now. We'll go off on a real tangent.
Yeah, we don't need to get into, like, politics and things
Bunnies
like that.
Bunnies in the road and the grass, yeah.
Well, hey, Ben, man, thanks for taking the time and coming over and having a couple beverages and talking generators and engines and stuff and what you do, because it's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty cool stuff.
Thanks
like I said, it's a niche market that you're in. There's not a lot of people that know about all that stuff. So to be able to come over here and kind of shed some light on that. I appreciate it because I know I learned a lot today.
I did too. I did too.
Hey, as long as you're learning,
Right.
it's not a day wasted, You got
it. You got it.
Well, thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Until next time, all right?
Sounds good.
See you, Ben.